You know, you know, we all did it wrong. Let's talk about that. My vegan story is just ridiculous. How invested I was in the vegan movement, health wise and ethics wise, ethically, I think. Where do I even start? I'm trying to keep this short. In 2017, I stumbled upon vegan videos, when I was eating salami. So the thing was, I saw it, and then I also saw the raw meat eater videos, and these people were, in my perspective, then having a war with each other or something. And I was just there, still eating like a standard Dutch diet that is really comparable to the sad diet, standard American diet. I was doing that, and I was watching them, and suddenly something snapped. I didn't want to eat animals anymore because I saw the images of factory farming. And I thought like, oh, no, hell no, I'm not gonna consume that anymore. Then I started to look into the vegan stuff, I didn't even see the whole documentaries, but I'm good in finding the information I need. So stories of vegans, and it began. I'm trying to balance out talking about food and ethics because if you talk too much about food, then you did it wrong, and if you talk too much about ethics, then then it's you also did it wrong. Then why did you stop? Yeah, deterioration. But okay, I became vegan in the end of 2017, and because of the images and the videos I saw, I didn't want to consume animal products, the factory farming. I thought that was the only place that meat, eggs, and dairy come from. Okay, well, I started to monitor everything I was doing, of course, going around people and telling them like, oh, is there egg in this? Is there chicken in this? No, I don't eat that. So even in the first month of veganism, I was already, making sure I didn't consume anything. And that went okay. I had tons of reserves of animal products, and all the stuff that's still in your body before you use it up. And okay, I remember that the first month of being vegan, I was already so infested. So that sounded Dutch. So infested that it went wrong one time with me eating at my grandma's place, and then she had a dish, but there was milk in it, and I didn't know. I came home. I'm just gonna give you my honest reaction. Yeah, oh, cancer, shit, fuck. Yeah, in Holland, in Dutch people, when they're mad, they use cancer as yeah. Anyways, so I was really mad, like very mad, because I didn't want to consume the dead bodies, and that was the time that I also got into spirituality. And if you all have experienced a spiritual lifestyle and a vegan lifestyle, these two can go hand in hand, but usually they don't have to. Okay, so I was getting more active on Instagram, promoting this way of living, and I really started to believe that when you eat animal products, I was so naive. Really started to believe that it just sits in your intestines and does nothing. That's big bullshit, but okay. I was listening to all these gurus because I like the idea, and actually it's still appealing to me. Where I'm now 4 months on the carnivore doing this transition, and it's going really well. And but the idea is appealing to me that you don't have to, I wouldn't necessarily use the word hurt, but you don't need animals to get nutrition. I like that. Because, yeah, if it was possible, I was investing in this idea more and more. And the first 2 months of veganism were really rough because everyone who is an ex-vegan knows that in the first months you still need to decide what to eat. I was eating a lot of vegan junk food, which is very handy if you're autistic and your gut is in dysbiosis. So, I'm only gonna talk about that and not really about the mental part. So, yeah, I was doing the veganism, lots of rye bread, and within 2 months, got something switched in my head, and it switched in favor of the vegan philosophy. So I was really now everything I wanted to veganize, and it became some kind of obsession slash passion. I wouldn't say obsession in a bad way, but because it was a new passion, I found something that I was really passionate about, like not killing animals or not eating dead bodies, but not knowing in my naive head from then that nature does that as well. Like, I totally forgot everything around me and just listened to blindly to this vegan thing. Then, what happened after that was I came in contact with a few. Wait, let me drink. Came into contact with a few good friends of mine, and that's when I started to learn about whole foods because I wanted to eat something so bad, but I was avoiding animal products as heck, and I was a new vegan, so how could I ever do it? That was the first time in my life that I actually got really skinny. Like, I was never fat, but I lost so much weight because I didn't know what to eat. Then I eventually fell into a routine of making canned beans with rice and mock meats, and that rotated. Autism people are kind of can be really monotone, so I needed something to hold on to, and that was the brown rice with the beans and sometimes the mock meat, sometimes not. But it was getting like expensive, and my mom told me like, yeah, your eating style is getting expensive. But what else do you expect from an autistic child who tries to do the right thing? Like, no, but I don't want to kill animals for food, and fuck all the eating meat and all this kind of stuff. I was really getting passionate about that. And back in that time, I was also an artist, so I started to make my first vegan songs, and we're talking about 2 months into veganism. And okay, so from that time on, I really thought like I'm gonna stay like vegan forever. This is the way to live. My eyes are finally opened, and this is the way because we haven't done everything in another way. And I was also only looking at vegan sources of information, like Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart, his videos, which do not appeal to me, those videos at all anymore, but that's not a personal thing. I'm not spiritual anymore. But yeah, everybody was talking and constantly verifying this feeling of not wanting and needing to eat meat. And okay, so I continued doing that, and the the first half a year into veganism, I was a few months into Whole Foods because the old buddies of mine told me that. So I was actually learning and starting to cook for myself. So I felt like I was doing a really healthy thing. I'm cooking all these vegetables, and I'm just veganing all the way. I was on Instagram constantly saving all these kind of memes. Getting more knowledge about veganism and trying to get it out there. I was making stories, being the typical vegan that I wasn't preachy to people, but how do you call that? I wanted to spread it because I really thought in a dogmatic way that this was the way to live. And my diet then consisted of a lot of chickpeas and a lot of cucumbers, zucchinis, and actually I was making the same dishes over and over, and lots of how do you call it, lots of spices on them, because I thought it was a little bit boring tasting, so lot of spices. And I was telling everybody, oh, look at this, my food is very good, very healthy, and people actually tasted it and liked it. But I think that's because of they didn't have to eat it every day. And so the monotone dishes continued. I was doing this whole foods, but still doing some kind of grains and stuff, though not really into eliminating things because I didn't know back then that I was autistic. So going further into the veganism, it was actually interesting what happened next. So I was being going deeper into veganism, and then the cooking and finding more about vegetables, and people really told me, like, they gave me validation. So I also, besides the ethical things, the most militant vegans want to tell you that it's healthy to not eat animal products. And then when you start talking about health as an ex-vegan, suddenly veganism is not about health anymore. Because I thought it was about health, though, I paid attention to the health benefits that it gave me. And 6 months in, I must say, because I eventually, I was eating better. I was not eating like packaged food hardly, and I was whole foods plant based. So I thought, yeah, this lifestyle was doing me so good, so I had good emotions from it. And we're going further into veganism, and now I'm gonna stop with the timestamps because the first year of veganism was pretty terrible. The first 1.5 years, I was vegan for almost 2.5 years, let's say it like that. And yeah, I must admit, 1 year of veganism I did wrong. And this might be pleasurable for all the vegans to hear, but the second year, oh hell no, I did it good. I did a whole food plant-based diet good. So we're first gonna talk about the first year, not in depth, because yeah, it's not really relevant, because we're talking about the militant ethical aspect of it. But yeah, what did I do the first year? After being Whole Foods, I got into raw veganism, and I was eating raw, making new raw friends, and getting part of the community. And after that, I went fruitarian for, oh my goodness, maybe 6 to 7 months, kind of like that. So, yeah, believe me, it was a roller coaster ride. There was a lot of Dr. Sebi, a lot of Dr. Morse, a lot of alkaline recipes, a lot of all that spiritual stuff that has, actually a little to do with veganism. But, it always remained the reason why I was doing what I was doing was because I didn't want to hurt animals and did not want to consume animals. I was really vegan. Living was my foundation, and I almost everywhere talked about veganism. I have so much proof, like media content and that kind of stuff, of how vegan I was. But okay, I'm not here to prove anything, just to share my story. So, health wise, I wasn't really like deteriorating. I was only getting skinnier, and in that year, my skin color faded a bit, but I didn't even like really notice major differences. Like, I was 1 year of wrecking my body with fruitarianism, whole food plant based, and the other one, raw veganism. But yeah, it wasn't. And I lived these lifestyles like really intensive. I was part of groups, and just really really being into it. So when people are telling me like, uh, oh yeah, about parasites, about all that kind of stuff, and detoxing. I just know what you are talking about because I watched hours of Dr. Morse. And here's the thing, I when I was doing that, I wasn't, because somewhere in my being I was still religious or something, so I took all that information like blindly almost, because it was, I thought the root of it, just like veganism, was you're trying to be good or you're trying to be kind. Well, after fruitarianism, that was the worst. My mental health got upside down, and I don't want to talk about that in the biggest detail, but I will give you an overview. So I was autistic already with bad gut flora and a bad gut, then eating fruit for 7 months. And I'm talking like fruit. 2 kilograms of bananas almost every day because that was my fruitarian staple. Then sometimes 1 freaking kilogram of dates. I could eat like 3 whole boxes of grapes, because you think in that mindset, yeah, I'm detoxing, I'm doing all this high vibration shit. Nah. But okay, that was me wrecking my gut with all that and eating bags of raw spinach. Not too much, but there was always spinach involved in what I did when I was raw vegan. And just eating foods that wreck your gut. But I was still doing pretty fine, but mentally not. Like, at the end of fruitarianism, you know what happens when your gut is in bad state and you're feeding it all this sugar and all these things that you're not actually getting you further. So I got into the end of that year, and that has nothing to do with veganism, but I blame fruitarianism for this. Like, blame as in, yeah, the lifestyle causing it, because, yeah, of course it was then my fault, but I didn't know. Yeah, so I got into psychosis again, couldn't sleep, my mental health was going, I was really tripping, like in bed and waking up. And my mental state was constantly going into overdrive. Constantly, I was getting some kind of visions and constantly anxiety. There was a moment that everything just felt like your head is being squeezed. If you have any experiences with mental disease like psychosis and tripping, how do you call that? Kind of schizophrenic things, it made it all worse. So what did I do next? It was a dumb decision because in the spirituality world you are in some kind of psychosis, even that you think like, okay, if I'm not eating the high vibrational foods or the foods that stimulate my alkalinity, my body is never gonna work. Then you think in that mindset. So what happened was that I got back into vegan processed foods because I was thinking, oh, these are grounding foods, would help me to get down to earth, because I fucking thought that was in another spiritual dimension or stuff, which is also bullshit. But okay, I did that and I got into that. And this is the food part of it. Meanwhile, I was still being very vegan and telling everybody you should not eat animal products, favoring pictures of pigs, cows, and there's nothing wrong with it. If you like pigs and cows, why not? But still watching Earthling at Joey Carbstrong, who we have next. Just the big vegan people on the internet watching vegan debates all the time. That was the ethical side. I was still, even though these decisions were, yes, they were dumb, but I'm talking about my vegan journey, and this has to do with it, because I was avoiding animal products, of course, still. And, I came to the point that when I was outside, after a year of being vegan, ethically, and we're leaving the food part out, I was always avoiding the smell of meat. When people had meat on the table, I couldn't like bear it. I was mad and kind of aggressive. And when people were talking about meat or liking meat, I was already always trying to convince them to not. And I always wanted so badly to create that vegan world. So even making dumb food choices, the veganism was so deep in my heart that even in psychosis of the first year and having all this mental shit, I didn't even think about consuming animal products again. Because I really thought that was bad and that wasn't good for you, so I didn't. So the first year I actually survived them. We're going into the second year, and I started that year off a month on processed foods, and then I got toenail fungus, and then I thought like, oh wait, this is really not good. I need to go and eat at least non-processed foods because that is a fundamental thing that everyone knows. Like, don't do it if you don't want big problems, but you need to know your own body if you can handle it or not. Some people do fine on processed foods, but I doubt it. And it was like a really confusing time, and I didn't eat like the processed. I try to not eat the processed stuff, but I ate a lot of things that are also not handy for people with candida and autism. At that time, I ate a lot of sweet potatoes, sugary things, potatoes, all kinds of seeds, and but we're just unhealthy. The standard vegan diet, but then with all the starch that makes things worse. Okay, but ethical, I was still there hanging on, but I was getting, yeah, I was gaining weight because of all the starch again, and I wasn't worried about my weight so much, and I still looked pretty normal. Like, we're almost 1.5 years in. Then things were happening in my life, and I needed to move, actually. So they were doing a renovation at home, and I needed to stay at my aunt, her place, and it was really cool. And that is where I decided, it was already April of that year, so 1 year and 4 months vegan. I thought to myself, wait, I'm going back on the whole foods plant based, and this time I'm really going to do research like how can I balance this out, because I still believe like, okay, that might be the best way to eat. Like, just let's cut out all the extreme things and just do normal things. And at that time I started to do that. So for breakfast my things were looking pretty similar and normal to the rest of the vegans. I finally started to get the hang of it. So, for example, I made oatmeal with psyllium husk, bananas, made my own coconut milk, lots of chia seeds, flax seeds in it, and sometimes some berries also for breakfast. Not a lot because I was really monitoring it. And for breakfast I ate that, and then for dinner all kinds of vegetables like, spinach, lettuce, all the things, kale, and I was eating variation enough, yeah, protein from chickpeas, and I made it a staple to make some dishes only with not too much grains. Everything was just out balanced. So yeah, I have pictures of that, but yeah, let me just try to remember what I, what kind of stuff I ate. Yeah, we're gonna talk about the usual stuff. So I ate lentils, and for example, one dish was like in with all kinds of things, cucumbers, tomato sauce, you name it. But it was, on average, you would consider it healthy, vegan, whole food, plant based. Because of all the stuff that happened with food before I ate something, I really looked it up online, like, okay, is there sugar in it? Or, I was trying to balance everything out. And eventually I got on a budget because, we're not rich over here, let's say it like that. And I made a staple meal which had not really much variation. So I rotated every day. I kind of ate the same, and that wasn't good, but it was still whole foods plant based. And I ate a lot of chia seeds, flax seeds, all the superfoods. I ate so much superfoods, and So it was a lot of chickpeas, zucchini mixed with peas and carrots, and then sometimes tomato sauce. And later I cut the tomato sauce off because of nightshades, and it was paprika. And almost every day I had either quinoa or the brown rice, or when I had the money, the black rice. And I was fan of black rice then. And you know just doing the whole foods on a budget, so eating as healthy as I could, like the foods that they really classified high, I try to eat every day. And besides that, I'm a media entertainer, so I was making interview programs for vegans by vegans, and I was really stepping my game up on the social media and spreading this vegan movement, making my own entertainment programs, because mentally I was getting more stable, but it was still really like a sandstorm in my head. It was abnormal to live in that chamber, but I was getting more clear, so I was trying to help the vegan movement, made more vegan songs. Also, I got into animal marches and I really got into the activism thing, but not a lot because, autism and social awkwardness. But I did what I could in my own way then. The thing here is that I was getting skinnier and skinnier. So that is when it was first happening, that I was eating so much and so good, and my weight kept on dropping and things weren't like really improving. I still had some color because it was in the summer, but I my facial shape, when I look back at it, started to change, and I was getting, yeah, more yellowish. And I was getting, in that year we're talking about, I was doing this what I just told you for like maybe 3 months. And then in the fourth or fifth month, then I suddenly got more gas, and it was like my food was just sitting there and feeling sticky. And you know I came onto the point that I had a really, really white tongue. It's still like white, but not as white as it was. So, we're now going to talk about my health crash. But before that, I want to tell you that, yeah, I was. And of course, I knew about Chronometer. I was tracking everything. I was thinking I was doing the healthiest job because, I ate a lot of superfoods, a lot of seeds, and a lot of things that make Dr. Gregor jump a hole in the sky because he's so happy to hear that you're eating all that stuff. You know, let's say it like this. I'm not going into depth about what I think, like oxalate accumulation and all that kind of stuff. I'm not a health professional, so let's not do that. I'm telling you my vegan journey. So, yeah, what happened after that was really strange. One night I was sitting and eating. I ate a lot, but I lost so much weight, and I was doing all this training, and I was eating all these kind of beans and things that supposedly had all this protein. You don't want to know how many sunflower seeds I ate. You can, let's see it like this, for nine, no, 1 year and 1.5 years, maybe even. I ate sunflower seeds for 1.5 years. A lot of them because they were a good calorie filler. And yeah, I wanted to feel full because I felt hungry always. So the sunflower seeds were also a staple in my diet. And you hear a lot of vegans just preach to you that, okay, if it's a healthy food or a superfood, you can't get enough of it. Like freely, she said, like you cannot eat enough fruit. I'm like, oh god. And then when you eat a certain superfood, then the vegans will tell you, oh, you ate too much of it. What the hell? But okay, what happened after that was, one night I was sitting down in the living room and I ate nightshades, which I cannot, by the way, and with the black rice, and I was eating, and suddenly I felt like everything was choking. My whole thing, I couldn't wash it down anymore, and the dish was, if I'm correct, tomato sauce, zucchini, peas, carrots, black rice, a lot of, yeah, just chickpeas and onions with No, I didn't eat garlic because of Dr. Sabi then, but spices, and we're talking about paprika, a lot of it, turmeric, and oregano, that the Mediterranean kind of mix, and a lot of sunflower seeds and chia seeds. I think it was also, and I forgot more things, but I was eating that one evening, and suddenly I just could not anymore. My gut was like feeling wrecked. And that is when other problems started to occur in the months following up to that. I'm just gonna say it. It was like if I had a feeling to fart, the poop would almost come out. So I didn't fart because I was feeling it, and sometimes I was laying in bed. The months after that, and poop would just, if I didn't go to the toilet in time, the poop would just come out, and then I thought, okay, I need to do even more research because I was following the main vegan guidelines for healthy eating, but I thought like I need to step this up a notch and eat like anti-candida, see what I'm kind of intolerant to, or because the thing I was trying to do wasn't working anymore. So I already know about Chronometer, as I said, and I was tracking things and I found it strange. Like, okay, only my B12 was like deficient, so I got a B12 supplement after 1.5 years, kind of yeah, and 8 months. And I did that, and I got grapefruit seed extract to kill off the candida. Of course, I was in vegan groups and asking every other vegan, not really, yeah, desperately actually, for advice, because the cult is gonna help its members, to say it like that. Well, no, let me put it, the group is supposed to be, not supposed to be, but you think other vegans care, so yeah, I got on the anti-candida, and I was varying my food even more. So I ate all kinds of different beans, all the beans that are not high in starch, and so we're talking about atsuki beans, we're talking about kidney beans, chickpeas, we're talking about, I'm even forgetting the name of all these beans that I ate. And yeah, I'm gonna tell you more. And all kinds of pseudo greens, so amaranth, quinoa, and I just forgot the names. I got into so many different stuff. Then I really went whole foods plant based. Like I saw fruit and vegetables that I haven't heard of or seen of before. So I was really doing research, and I got into really, really clean whole foods plant based and really varied. So eating lots of variation of colors. We're talking about red cabbage, and I just don't have the all the energy to list everything that I ate. I'm going to do it in the future, but lots of greens, lots of beans, and lots of pseudo greens that are also acknowledged to be better for you, and every kind of seed that I could get my hands on here. So we're talking about, with every meal, sesame seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, chia seeds, and of course sunflower seeds, if I didn't say them already. This is kind of boring, but and things like psyllium husk. I was really into superfoods, and coconut flakes to kill off the candida, even raw garlic, and I with every meal, and lots of avocado to gain weight, the fats, and I was eating whole foods plant-based with a variety, with lots of fats and lots of protein, and I tracked the shit with Chronometer. So I was supposed to get all the things in that I needed to get in. And all kinds of leafy greens also. Let me name a few. Lots of bok choy, and a lot of nah, not really endive, but broccoli and cauliflower. Yeah, that are not leafy greens, but Brussels sprouts. Yeah, let me just try to list some foods. everything, almost everything with alfalfa and good quality Celtic salt. Now that was in the last of it. Yeah, but anyways, I ate like this for 3 months and things got a little bit better. Things cleared up. But now we're going into the transition time. Like when I made the photograph in the elevator that I always use to compare the me from now to the vegan me, that was in the time when I started to do more research and vary my whole food plant based diet. Like only 3 months on the whole foods plant based diet, like the real stuff, like almost 4 months in, like eating really healthy, like you're doing whole foods plant based and you're following any good advice that or people are too lazy or too addicted to junk food, to follow up. I was really doing it because I was really wanting to improve some, and besides that I was still very ethically vegan and involved in the movement. And yeah, what's a vegan to do? Struggle. Because veganism has so much to do with diet and people want to accuse you of having an eating disorder, maybe veganism is heavily linked to eating disorder because you're avoiding all these animal products, and then when you're doing it good, it still goes wrong. So you need to think about your body and what is in relation to your body. Food. So it has to do, you're forced to mind your food intake. That's one of the bases of veganism, to not use animals in anything you do. And what do we do often? Eating. So, yeah, I didn't know what was going on. I thought I was just finally, I could get my attention away from eating because I was finally doing the whole food plant-based good. But then, suddenly my health crashed. I weighed 43 kilograms, my cheeks were all like this, I was turning yellow, my teeth were turning clear, and listen, my energy level got way down, and my gut was wrecked. I was having green stool every day. My body was just burning and burning. I think it was eating itself. I tried to still build muscle, and my protein was sufficient because of all the beans and from the quinoa also and all that kind of stuff. I minded all the starch intake and stuff. Everything was supposed, in theory, was going good. But in reality, my arms got so skinny that I could see all the bones. I was dying. I was literally dying because I was 171 centimeters and I weighed 43 kilograms, and normally I weigh about 60. So, seeing my ribs every time I showered, I was still an ethical vegan. I couldn't give a freak because, veganism, I'm not gonna eat animal products. I was seeing my ribs in the shower. It took me minutes to grab my soap. I was so weak and slow, I almost collapsed. And how is that possible? I still have the chronometer data. I was eating a good whole foods plant-based diet, and I still liked eating the food. It tasted good, I'm not gonna lie. It was good. The dish with the quinoa, the red cabbage, and I made it taste good. I was still ethical vegan and fan of veganism, but I was walking bones. And there were days that I was in bed for half a day. And my mom needed to help me to soak all the beans to prepare. I was cooking like almost every day. And then I'm not gonna tell you what I do now and how I transition. Yeah, I'm going to leave it at this. You never blame veganism for it because you think you're doing the right thing. You're so into the philosophy, even with skin and bones. I continued. And you know what? Most of the, vegan community gave me the feeling, or veganism itself, it just drops you. You do so much effort to do this lifestyle and to speak up for it ethically and physically, and then veganism drops you. It's obvious. Look at my face. and look at the old pictures and the old videos on my YouTube channel. You can clearly see a different face moving on camera, proof in your face. I never wanted to have a link with veganism and how I was doing. But how is it possible if Chronometer tells you that you eat enough beans, that you eat enough things, your body is still going way, I don't know. Look at Matt Monarch, maybe because he was a raw vegan. And he came out with his story about being really skinny and stuff. I understand that's raw veganism, but we're talking here about cooked food veganism, whole foods, plant based. I have witnesses, people who ate my food and enjoyed it. I was, cooking was something I found fun, but being in the kitchen all the time I didn't enjoy it because it took a long ass time to prepare all the plants. But still, I don't understand why, if you literally put the proof in front of some. Yeah, I was like that too, so I do understand why when you put this kind of proof in the face of vegans, they're still gonna say that you did it wrong while you offered your whole life to the cult side of veganism. Thank you everyone for watching. This was something I really wanted to get out of my chest, and you can even see that I recovered that much that I can keep my attention to do this. Look at my old videos. I couldn't even make videos longer than maybe 3 minutes because I was, attention deficit, let's say it like that. Thank you.